Hi, everybody. I'm Michael Carrese, welcoming you to Raise the Line with Osmosis from Elsevier, an ongoing exploration of how to improve health and healthcare. Most people associate being a physician with financial security, but according to a recent report issued by Medscape, only about half of physicians in the United States report having a net worth of over $1 million. That's where today's guest comes in. Brett Riggins founded Physician Wealth Systems in 2022 to help doctors achieve financial security through real estate investments that generate passive income. Brett is also the founder and CEO of Connect Home Buyers, a real estate solutions company based in Michigan. Osmosis co-founder and Raise the Line host Shiv Gaglani was recently a guest on Brett's Real Estate MD podcast. And Brett, we're happy to welcome you to the program here today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this. For the listeners out there who may have not seen the mug shots, I've got my mug and I've been shot and I'm ready to go.
He's all prepared here. So listen, we always start the show because we have a younger audience who like to hear about the career paths that other people take. So what first got you interested in real estate and investing?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, my path started in construction and design. And it led me into architectural design and construction management. That's where I went in school. My parents had attempted building a house when I was about 7 years old. It lasted for about 7 years. And unfortunately, they actually lost it. We're forced to sell it on a short sale. So there's pieces in that really build a foundation for me now reaching out and direct to seller into real estate, because I'm working with a lot of sellers and families who may be in some of the worst times of their lives. And I have that connection, that experience with them. But ultimately it was the renovation side, the design side that really, fueled the fire for us. My wife has got the eye for design, and I'm more of the sticks and studs kind of guy, and she's the colors and blankets, and really ties it in together.
Oh, so you're a joint business, you and your wife both?
Absolutely. I could not be where I am in this world and in this business world without her. She is the better half for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So obviously all that comes to play when you acquire a property. You guys renovate to the extent you need to, and she contributes all the design ideas?
Yeah, it was a fascinating learning the relationship too, because you want to test a marriage or a relationship, and this is long said, and I've heard it several times, and I've lived it. You want to test a relationship, renovate your house, and then what we're going to do is multiply this. We were doing 6 flips at a time, and then we're adding the layers of being an entrepreneur and business management, and then at one time we had 13 employees. So really testing the relationship. But learning, okay, at first I was running the numbers and I was coming from a high-end design build firm that I had started with and moved over here. That's not how we're going to make money flipping properties. Mm-hmm. So at some point it's like, okay, I brought her into the numbers piece. Well, she brought herself in. It was more helpful because I like to do things right. And not that she doesn't, but I don't do them right. And it costly most of the time and really nice stuff. And that's not ultimately the flip project, that we're putting together. So, but it was a dynamic. It was a dynamic for sure that we've learned through the years to work with. And it's built a strong relationship for us in our marriage and us as parents. So it's an awesome all around challenge.
So this might already be out there because I don't know all of my reality and home improvement shows, but sounds like you have a premise here for a show. It could be relationship advice through renovation.
Absolutely. In that path too, when we were doing those, we were, had media around us shooting, and we thought we wanted to be maybe I thought more than anybody else, but I wanted to be the Chip and JoJo kind of type remodel stuff. But man, to be completely honest with you, it was so stressful, not with the cameras and stuff, but the more you got into that, the more people that you depended on to do this. And let's be serious, when we're in certain price points around certain contractors doing certain things, that's not really the circle of people that are going to lift me up in my life to do the next best thing in my life. It could be, but it's just not likely,
Mm. So, with all this experience under your belt, before we get into the physician piece of this, what is your basic outlook on real estate investing? Some of your takeaways from all this experience and the best way to first get involved in this space?
Great question. The basic of real, I mean, I love it. I love the asset class is amazing. And I always try to share as much of my experience as possible without trying to shape anybody's opinion to move into it. But I've always find myself like saying everybody should own real estate. It's such an amazing asset class. And inside of that asset class, you ask, what's a good way to get started? It just depends on what's your final why. Where's your why? Understanding where you want to go more than just I want passive income. What does that mean? What do you want your time for? What are you going to do with your time? What are you going to do with more money? How are you going to use this stuff? That helps you decide where you're going to get in at and where you want to be at in 5 or 10 years. So another thing that I think about this question too is it's cyclical. Your entry point may be kind of directed on where it's at in the cycle. Residential cycles just a little bit different than commercial. Trends affect cycles because you catch somebody doing, oh, syndication is cool. The next thing you know, as a physician, you're just getting bombarded with capital raise and general partners and limit, all this stuff. Flipping is cool. And then somebody's going to sell you a wholesaling program for $50,000. So trends will follow those cycles as well, too. Residential cycles just a little bit different than commercial. Ultimately, it's going to come down to who you're surrounding yourself with, and then leaning on those relationships to build your own knowledge, to turn that knowledge into wisdom by implementing. That's the biggest difference, taking action off of this and leaning on relationships that you can depend on.
Well, it certainly is clear that people need some advice, getting into this, because there, as you're describing, so many different ways to do it, and it's obviously a very complicated space.
It can be.
So what's your approach to physicians who have no experience with this, trying to get them to start thinking about it?
That seed is the biggest thing, planting that seed in your mind. And I say this a lot, separating time from money. And so many times, I've got a podcast too. So many times the little purple book gets referenced on our show, and it's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that seed is planted in your head is, okay, real estate could be that means to an end kind of thing. It could produce this situation where it allows me to separate my time from my money. That's the biggest thing. Once you have that seed planted, real estate can do that, leaning on these other assets to books, podcasts, the relationships we talked about earlier, to help you understand how that's going to happen. And, those are just the biggest pieces to make these changes in your life.
So give us the basic rundown of physician wealth systems, and I'm curious about how you geared it particularly for that audience.
Perfect. As a investor, so when we were doing 6 flips at a time, I didn't come from money. I didn't walk into these opportunities. It took a lot of hard work, and a lot of the same things that I was telling myself, the limiting beliefs I was telling myself in the beginning was, I don't have the money. I don't have the time, right? We hear this all the time, but I overcame those. And along that journey, that's how I actually started working with physicians, because that I didn't have the money. Limiting belief was keeping me from having the conversations I needed to have with the people who did have the money. And there's a lot of physicians out there who may not necessarily be wealthy. They may have high incomes, may have no time. So they're looking in that particular scenario for places to invest money. Those were the original relationships that we had with physicians, were private money lenders. And leveraging that private money lending scenario is a way that you can invest in real estate. For us, is what lifted us. But as we started working with physicians, we always heard, hey, how can we get equity, right? We're doing debt loans. How can we get equity? How can we get deals like this? Well, at that time, I just couldn't do it. That's how I was feeding my family. Ultimately, within the last year and a half, again, these cycles, these trends, being able to lean on the relationships that I was building and say, wait a second, there is a way that we can plug physicians into our acquisition machine, into our systems, our processes, our power team, and give them the ability to have equity in these deals. So in those scenarios, the client for physician wealth systems would be someone who has the deployable capital, has the interest in building single family. Not that you're going to scale single family. I think it's a great entry point. But the interest is to build a single family portfolio. The deployable capital can now plug into these systems, leverage from these years and years and years of experience of what to do, what not to do, all the things that you hear about real estate, chasing down renters, fixing toilets, all of this stuff. I've lived that. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to live it again. I've just developed these systems and processes and built a team to help mitigate us from those particular instances. And it makes me think of osmosis. And I was just had a guest on the show yesterday was telling me how grateful he was for osmosis and the process. Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Human was his name, is his name. And just very great. He was in education medicine as well, too. And it was just really cool how that's brought down. I love about that is the same way, okay, we're going to do 12 properties in 12 months. We're going to be getting after it, right? That's a very substantial velocity. So in order to get there, I got to make sure that I'm compressing all of this stuff that say you come in and you didn't know a lot about real estate. Well, I need to compress that because you're a physician. I don't know, not you personally, but the listener, you're a physician.
That's all right.
So,
if you want to think I'm a doctor, that's great.
doctor, yeah. You're a physician. You have, you've got time that needs to be other places, not in this. So we're compressing that learning piece because there's still things, even though that this is a turnkey real estate investment business that we're building. And I encourage everybody out there to listen to this. Nobody's going to care more about your money than you do. You may not know everything that you need to know about the asset class, about the investment, but you need to know what questions to ask. You need to know who to be around to ask those questions on. What do I need to know? What do I need to ask? That's really important. So building that system and process, because even though it's a turnkey real estate investment business, I want the knowledge base of asset management, asset performance. I want that to be instilled. And to do that is similar like the osmosis thing we were saying. It's compressing that, showing you a short video, showing you the bullet points. Hey, we've got this now. Now what's next? So trying to, that, what's it, Six Sigma approach, kind of
The
like
lean
figuring
approach.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on? So it's funny how it's all coming together. It's a similar approach.
Yeah. Fascinating. So, say I am a doctor and I'm like, okay, I'm really interested. What would be the next step? How do people start getting integrated into this?
It's great. So either it's with us or anybody around you, the biggest thing is building the relationships. And one way that you can do that, whether you do work with Physician Wealth Systems or not, is there's a platform, physicianwealthsystems.com. And as we're progressing, I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, provide as much value and resources for everybody as possible, because I know I won't get to work with everybody. And to be honest with you, I don't want to work with everybody. That's such a blessing to be like, okay, this feels good. Let's work together kind of thing. But there may be time, there may be money, there's different restrictions that would keep that from happening. But I want to have this platform to where I have a lot of opportunities to speak with a lot of amazing people, investors, coaches, CPAs, other physicians, entrepreneurs. And that's where I'm sharing these resources and building out this platform to say, hey, it's not just this. I would love to work with you if it's a good fit for both of us and it aligns with your why. But even not, if that's not the path, I want to build something to give back and to raise the line. I mean, it's exactly why we're talking about stuff like this on shows like this. So thank you. You guys, I hear it a lot. Thank you. But thank you guys for putting this together, because the physician path is difficult. And it's just going to continue to be compressed by certain things that probably a lot of other more educated people can speak better about, but insurance, conglomerates buying hospitals, and it's crazy what's happening to squeeze this. And if we can share stuff like this, compress what it takes to get here, to raise that line and allow physicians to practice passion, not practice because they have to.
Yeah, and maybe reduce some of the stress that's contributing to burnout and all of that. So, I think a lot of people are like, well, wouldn't I need to know a lot about real estate to do something like this? Because otherwise, I could be misdirected, or I'm not going to be able to follow what's happening. What do you tell them about that?
Yeah. Do you need to know a lot about real estate to get involved? No. Should you? Yes. There's a starting point. I love that question because there's a starting point. We all start somewhere, and we all start at some point, whether we have a little bit of experience or knowledge or not. And this, again, I'm going to lean back on the relationship equity that you build with people, and making sure that you're with genuine people who have full cycle deals, have experience, Or, hey, if they're going to be transparent and say, hey, I'm just getting started. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm seeing. This is the risk. If they're transparent with you and you can tolerate that risk, then you're building on the equity of that relationship with the transparency that's there. So that means a lot too. You don't have to be, you know, Tiger Woods kind of experience to go golfing with me,
Right.
But I think
You
that's
do
great.
need
We
to
all
know
start.
what end of the golf club to hold, probably.
Yes, yes. Funny story. Off note, I've actually been hit in the face with a golf club. The first time I ever went golfing, I got smacked in the face. I got 9 stitches. It was one of the first experiences that I've had with a physician. So, there you go.
Was he building business for himself, or?
Yeah, yeah. No, but we all start somewhere. So, the best time to buy real estate is 20 years ago and today. And that comes from, right, the proverb, it's the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago and today. So there's no better time than now. Everything's cyclical. And that aligns with the knowledge too. Knowledge, and you're not going to have that experience until you take action. Just make sure that you're building the right mentorships around you, the right associations. Make sure you're limiting associations. That can be just as important too, from the people who say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You should only be doing this. Don't ever do that. The negativity. So making sure you're limiting associations too. But those relationships are the most important. They will help you get over that. I don't know anything. And the end of that question is, yes, you should know something. Again, nobody's going to care more about your money or your investments than you do.
So, what does it look like for a physician, say they're working with you, somebody who really wants to be hands off about it, versus what does it look like when somebody wants to get more involved? Like what kinds of things would they be participating in terms of decision making or whatever else?
Yeah, process wise. So on an acquisition, we're doing everything on a turnkey real estate investment business. This is not just a turnkey real estate investment. This is not a single family. Hey, here it is. This house has got a tenant. You go over to the property management company. They've got 4,000 units they're managing. It's not that scenario. We're setting up and the systems and processes for the business completely. So how the money is coming in, where is it coming from, all of that. But this goes completely through the process of finding the property. We have some really cool technology we're building out to do this. Prop tech, I think, is a great way to put that. We're finding it. We'll acquire it in our acquisition company. We assign it to the client's LLC at close, so they're maintaining equity. Then we renovate it. We get the tenants, get it marketed. We, at the same time we're marketing it, we have the lender that's coming in doing the appraisal. So all this process is rolling to have it stabilized. Once it's stabilized, it's in with the property manager. We help as an asset manager with the client, saying, okay, how's my asset performing? Make sure we're asking the right questions each month. What this looks like for a client is a green light on the front side, and as involved as they want to be. And for the listeners out there, I think it's great to be as involved as you can to understand where these different instances may occur. If you're working with us or anybody else, understanding that the insurance process, what's that look like? What am I being covered? How am I covered for? So really diving down, because once you set into it, you're going to learn. You front load your experience, your knowledge, right? You front load your time involved in this. The next time is going to be a little easier. But looking at the HUD, which is the ALTA, the settlement statement on the acquisition. So all of this stuff is front-loaded. Once it's stabilized, things flatten out and it takes a lot less time. But ultimately building a scenario so a physician can manage a 12 property portfolio, single family portfolio, with an hour a month.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Even, at the least level of involvement, how much time would somebody have to spend on it?
It's the most time comes from the financing part. And that's the piece where my hands are tied behind my back. I can't sign documents for you. I can't provide statements for you, all of that kind of stuff. So the time that does come in is front loaded in that regard. But ultimately, it's going to break down to that target of 1 hour a month. Up front, we say in the first month, we're targeting for about 8 hours for the entire month. And that's to get through these applications, just to get stuff up and rolling, understanding the process, understanding the investment objectives, what happens, how does this work, how does the acquisition work, where does it go through the renovation, how are we refinancing, here's the property management stuff. So about 8 hours in that first one. And then month 2 is going to cut down. It cuts down to right about 3 or 4 hours. Month 3, right around 3 hours. And then from there, we're shooting back down to that one hour a month.
Hmm. So as a, class of employees, physicians, as we've all heard, are loaded with debt. And they're often 20 years down the road before they've paid it off. So that seems to me limits your, pool of prospects a little bit because they have to get that behind themselves before they're looking to invest. But what I'm getting at is even in that circumstance where you have, a good amount of income, but you still have student debts to pay off, is there a reason for folks to be thinking about this sort of investment earlier on?
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be this direction early on. And I talk about this a lot. If you're in med school, where are you staying? If you're staying in a house and paying rent, can you find a place where you can arbitrage the rent? Meaning that if I'm paying $1,000 a month and I've got 2 bedrooms, can I rent out one of those bedrooms? Can I make more money in renting out pieces of my rental if your lease allows you to do that? Another thing that you can do is house hack. And I've heard of a lot of scenarios where you have a couple different options of getting money while you're in school. I'm not going to name anything in particular, but there are ways to get money in school where you could use that money to acquire a place. So now you've just as before you, even as you're acquiring this student loan debt, you could be planting the seed and nurturing this perspective, removing these limiting beliefs that I can't do this, I don't have money, I don't have the time, from the get-go. So there's arbitrage rent, Airbnb arbitrage, there's house hacking. So many of these things can be done while you're in school because you're going to have expenses anyway. Why not start shaping your perspective to turn those expenses into income?
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. So much food for thought for folks. And speaking of learning, as you know, we're a teaching company. We love to fill knowledge gaps. One of our favorite questions on these podcasts is to give our guests an opportunity to say, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine that people don't understand X, or I keep hearing myths about Y. Is there a knowledge gap that you're particularly interested in that you would say to us, Osmosis, you guys should make a video about that or a course about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an amazing opportunity that I have to speak with a lot of physicians on the podcast. And I hear all the time pieces about business, pieces about entrepreneurship, and really the language of money. Those things really get a miss. If you think about it, how many physicians maybe come into a W-2 practice? Some go right into private, but it's more likely they're going to come into W-2. How do I get out of here? All right, I'm going out of here. Now I'm starting my own business. Now, what does that mean? Where is it? There's so many things that are tied into that. I know I've seen a couple of turnkey outfits that offer services to help you do that. But even before building those kinds of relationships, again, nobody's going to care more about your money than you do. Having this base understanding of profit and loss, balance sheet, these certain things, like as an entrepreneur through the years where it's brought tears to my face, learning these things, how can we compress these things and show them, hey, everybody's gonna have their own journey. And along that journey, we're going to stack these experiences up. These verticals are going to be called opportunities. And when we can take those opportunities and now create a patent, create a new process, create a new way of treating patients, there's that twist. We're talking about raise on the line. That's how we're doing it. And if we can have these videos that help us understand business management without having a full master's degree, if we can understand what's it mean to be an entrepreneur, how painful is it going to be? Where are the steps, the missteps? How many times is it going to take? And then ultimately, we wrap all this up is going to be mindset. Mindset is a huge piece of that. I don't know if in the Osmosis platform, if there's a mindset piece in this, but it's related to this business entrepreneur piece. I can't compare myself to anybody else. I have to understand where I'm going, how I'm getting better. I have to understand what my limiting beliefs are. So there's so much of that can be it's like a elevating platform, just kind of like packing stuff under physicians who are coming through because it's so vital to what we're doing and how we're progressing.
Yeah, no, a couple of building blocks missing there. And finance education in the United States anyway is notoriously non-existent at any level. I mean, not K-12, not college unless you're studying it, and in med school it's something that's touched upon maybe at best. Very interesting. So as we wrap up, Brett, as I've mentioned, we have a younger audience, and we always also like to give our guests an opportunity to provide their wisdom drop on building a career.
Wisdom drop, microphone drop. Some of the inflection points in my life have been when I've invested in myself and invested in mentorships, surrounded myself with the right people. But ultimately, when those moments of inflection, of growth come, they come in moments of self-realization. And in order for us to remove ourselves from the 99% of the other people out there, because this is human nature, understanding that what human nature, how am I going to react to this? What are my feelings? What are causing them? And how that's shared across the platform with everybody. Once I see that, understand that, now there's growth. Now I can start, and no matter what profession you're going into, whether you stay in medicine or not, no matter what asset class you invest in, this is human nature. Self-realization is the biggest piece of separating yourself from who you used to be. And in that direction, understanding where you want to go, understand why you want to go there. You need to know where you're at. You need to know what do I need to do to improve myself? So when I'm comparing myself to myself yesterday, nobody else, not Instagram, not that doctor, not the doctor next door, myself yesterday. I need self-realization to get there, but reflection is what makes experience valuable. So self-realization and reflection of those things, that's how we continue to improve every single day. Constant and never-ending improvement.
Very well put. As I say, you've offered our audience an awful lot to think about, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you. We wish you all the best. Brett Riggins from Physician Wealth Systems.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm Michael Carrese. Thanks for checking out today's show, and remember to do your part to raise the line and strengthen the healthcare system. We're all in this together.
If you like this podcast, please share it on your social channels. You can also subscribe to the series and check out all of our episodes at osmosis.org/raisethelinepodcast.